2020 was a pretty horrible year. As of January 3rd, COVID-19 had infected more than 80 million people worldwide and taken the lives of 1.8 million. Donald Trump was still president of the United States, and worst of all, there was an unprecedented use of the word unprecedented. But we aren't here to talk about any of that because the pandemic wasn't the only thing that was widespread. Misinformation was rampant, spreading conspiracies on just about anything, from Bill Gates putting mind-controlling microchips in vaccines, to wild accusations that Wayfair, an online furniture retailer, was involved in human trafficking. Now, conspiracies are nothing new, but their prevalence seems to have skyrocketed, and this comes as no surprise. The 2021 Edelman Trust Barometer, a yearly report that measures the trust the general public has in corporations, governments, NGOs, and the media, states that only 26% of people have what it's calling good information hygiene, a rating based on an individual's news engagement, avoiding echo chambers, verification of information, and not amplifying unvetted information. This is not to say that 74% of people believe and spread misinformation, but that their practices when it comes to the information they consume puts them at a higher risk of falling for what you could call fake news. Another possible contributing factor is that for a number of reasons during times of uncertainty, such as a pandemic, when science is slow to offer up solutions, people can turn to conspiracy theories to try and regain a sense of certainty. Let's start off with social media, our most common means of communicating with each other nowadays. Social media has exploded in popularity over the past decade, and since the pandemic began, its use has increased by between 30 and 40%. But how trustworthy is the information that you see on social media? Well, it's complicated. It depends a lot on the individual user, and accounts that you follow can play a big role in that, but behind the scenes there's a lot more at play. Social media sites often employ algorithms designed to keep you engaged for as long as possible, and that's where the problems arise. Because in order to keep people on their sites and apps for longer periods of time, algorithms are going to feed you information that you already agree with. This affects which accounts are suggested to you, as well as which posts will show up at the top of your feed. Algorithms like this that are designed to constantly feed you information you're already likely to agree with can create what's known as an echo chamber. The implications of this are that you're exposed to less and less opinions that are contrary to your own. So when your personal beliefs are challenged, you're more likely to dismiss the new information regardless of its credibility. Now, this doesn't discredit the information from social media entirely, but it's important to verify that it comes from an accredited media organization or an official government source, which we'll talk about in a bit. This is because for users with smaller audiences, there are generally very few consequences for sharing information that is false or misleading, which is why it's always important that you cross-reference your information. Now, it's not really easy to say whether or not information from governments is reliable. Generally, it is based on up-to-date and reliable evidence, but it can vary from country to country. Factors such as right to information laws are one way of assessing how reliable and transparent government information is, but results from this seem pretty counter to what one might believe, with Afghanistan at the very top and Germany in the bottom 10. Now, it's important to note that this doesn't tell the full story when it comes to how trustworthy a government is. It's just a measurement of how easily the public can access information held by governments. Another factor to consider is that many government officials are elected by the public, so in general there are very large consequences for them spreading false information or outright refusing to give information to the public. We're led to believe that news organizations are going to do their best to tell us the truth without distorting it in any way. But their truthfulness is often challenged today with claims that mainstream media is being controlled by the left and right without any regards for factual information. But do these claims hold any truth? Well, yes. Most media organizations do hold some sort of inherent bias, but this isn't to say that there is some underground society directing them to distort facts to the general public. And generally speaking, their biases can be negligible. Now, you may have seen a chart such as this one. This is the Adfontes Media Bias Chart, and it does a great job of summarizing the biases of various media organizations. But it's only showing two axes, with the bias plotted on the X and the news value and reliability on the Y-axis. But in reality, bias is a bit more complex than this. Media Bias Fact Check is a great website to help you understand the credibility of individual news organizations, with in-depth explanations and various other information that is relevant to the reliability. If you want to verify the credibility of any organization, I'd highly recommend this tool. They also have a very comprehensive section on their methodology, which you can use for yourself to determine whether or not a source is reliable. If you want to check it out, it'll be linked down below. So who exactly can you trust? Well, realistically, you should always be skeptical, but not dismissive of ideas that counter your own. Always cross-reference using reliable sources. These are generally the ones I go to, but there are plenty more out there. We all need to do our part to make sure that we stay informed during these unprecedented times.